kidding, of course. Okay, lights, action. Chapter 35 of the book God dictated to me that he told me what to type. Isaiah 53, in the day of the Lord. Just as he dictated the Torah to Moses, as believed by the Orthodox Jews of Judaism, and I guess the primary reason for that, although I don't know this to be fact, is that Moses could not have known how to write those 5 books where they could derive 613 laws from God for the Jewish people to abide by. And what they don't know, and I'm sure that's every rabbi on the face of the earth right now, is that God dictated, commanded, and directed each of the prophets to write their respective books. And he's also responsible for the writings. I don't know in particular who, but I suspect Nehemiah wrote Nehemiah and Ezra wrote Ezra. I don't know who did the Chronicles, but the entirety of the Hebrew Bible is God's and his word. You do not take from or add to or conflict with in your teachings. Jews for Judaism, Toby, a singer. That's not just Yom Kippur stuff. You don't know if he's going to forgive you for that or not, unless you make you show repentance and restitution. And restitution is you get out there and you fix your falsehoods. Isaiah 53 describes a Gentile. It cannot be Jesus, and it's written that way. And that's why he chose, one of the reasons he chose the Gentile that would fit the verses of 53, which Jesus doesn't. See chapter 22. It's geared to showing how Jesus doesn't fit any of the verses. Except the last one. We go through it verse by verse. Can't apply, can't apply, can't apply. Well, you know what else can't apply to 53? All of the Jewish people gathered as one man, Israel. And they've never all together been afflicted by God. I was afflicted at birth with disfigurement. And then again, I was afflicted with disease. I don't see that in the history of the Jewish people having ever occurred. All the Jewish people gathered as one man. It's only happened twice, and that's where you see the words. You see it when they're at Orb, and all of the Israelites agree to a man that they will follow all of God's laws and rules and directions that he gives Moses to give to them. And at Jerusalem, the 13 tribes, y'all may as well straighten that out too. There's no lost tribes. Never were. And it's certainly not in the Hebrew Bible that 10 tribes got lost. It's the exact opposite. So if you teach that, you're teaching man's word opposite of what God's word is. Because his book of Ezra says all 13 tribes gathered as one man, as a holy seed to build a second temple. You can't gather all of the Jewish people together at one time. They're scattered all over the world. And most of them wouldn't even know what you were talking about. Because most of them aren't observant. The last survey I saw in Israel, I think it was just Israel, was that just 30% were observant. There's still more than the Christians. I don't know about the Muslims. They all seem to believe in Allah. I don't know what the requirements in the Quran are. Okay, 35. I may have said 25. That's the man dressed in linen. You had me go too far. God's being a real prankster today. He wants y'all to know his personality. That's why he has me talking to him and everything. So you can see what it's really like and get more of a handle on his personality. Because in the Torah, in the Hebrew Bible, he's always angry. It's always raising armies, plagues, no food. Okay, this is stirring the spirits of armies. Good lead-in. The Lord stirred up the spirits of the Philistines and the Arabs, who were neighbors of the Cushites, against Jehoram. They marched against Judah. Jehoram must have been the king of Judah. Breached its defenses and carried off all the property that was found in the king's palace, as well as his sons and his wives. The only son who remained was Jehoahaz. That's at 2 Chronicles, chapter 21, verses 16 and 17. There was a time when believing God stirred up armies and nations against the kingdoms of Samaria and Judah, and took the sword, pestilence, and famine against the Jewish people for not obeying him. Fit with how people explain bad events. God's angry. And God had his prophets write his stories accordingly for the ancient age and the Middle Ages. I said, well, they think I'm angry all the time. I'm going to put some fear in them. I want them to think I did all that. God says it's the only way you can control them and try to get them observant to stop sinning. You had to scare them back then. You couldn't reason with them. When he says he stirred up the armies against Israel, he had a purpose. Whether it was the defeat by an enemy or loss of a temple and exile, God says he had something to do with it because he was angry. The reality is that the defeat and loss was already on the way as part of his creation. And God is his creation. His definition of God is absolute knowledge, absolute power, and I am my creation. God had his stories written with this in mind and used the Hebrew Bible as a teaching for the best way to live life in a harsh world. To create religion in one form or another. I know what that is. And many other purposes for the Jewish people and the world. All of God's stories are based on events that have occurred in and on the earth. Stories. There's a lot of stories built into it's kind of like seeing a movie and it says based on true account. Based on. And it is. He didn't want a documentary, you know. The reality is that the defeat, I already did that. Oh, that's the next sentence. He did not want a documentary and always had the creation of religion in mind, and that is why they're called God stories. Like movies based on actual events. He had me say all that. And then here it was right in front of me. And y'all had to hear it twice. And he said it's good for him. He's funny. He's being smart at it. Today, we gather all the information we can and assess why a battle or war was lost or won, and the source of a plague and how it is spread. Some people still believe God causes everything good or bad that happens in the world and in the world and with people But generally, we look to the facts in this age of reasoning, information, and knowledge. And the answer is no, he does not. He rarely uses his power in the world. Rarely. And even then, it's only if it would benefit him. Well, like creating the Hebrew Bible. I mean, that's the basis for his reality show. Humanity from beginning to end. Which is perfect. It's perfectly what he wanted. You look at humanity and you go, there's all kinds of problems out here. We're never going to have world peace at this rate. Yeah, Moshiach's going to perfect the world. Have all of Israel walking in the Torah. I want somebody to comment on that. How they think I'm going to go do that, and how long will it take me? Who's going to do the videos? Again, he directs all of my words. You may as well be listening to him. With my personality and my voice and my accent from South, well, I'm not in South Texas. It's kind of an East Texas accent. This time, the time to come, the day of the Lord. This time, humanity has evolved with enlightenment, reasoning, information, science, and knowledge, medicine. God will be communicating with the Jewish people and the world as he always has, by and through his prophet, the righteous servant of Isaiah 53, Moshiach. In the day of the Lord, that prophet is his righteous servant of Isaiah 53. Yeah, I lived with him for 16 years. It's kind of like marriage, you know. The first 5-10 years are great, and then things tend to start falling off. I'm still in the 5 or 5. I'm bitter about it. It's ridiculous. I keep saying, you can't get a prophet ready in 16 years. He just laughs. That's what he does. He laughs. And you can't publish a book. You couldn't even get an agent to help us publish the book. Me and the Spirit call him Pokey sometimes. Not to his face. He's pokey, which means slow. And God says, I'm very thorough. That was him. You can tell by the words. Using his power to change events to make it conform to how he imagined, visualized, and knew it would be is not necessary. His control of creation is his absolute knowledge of creation from beginning to end. It is the creativity of his writings through his prophets and his absolute control of his prophets for communicating with the world, as he's doing right now. And that is the power of God that he uses in creation in the day of the Lord with the man God calls his righteous servant Moshiach, who is the anointed one David, Elijah, and the prophet like Moses. There's 6 unfulfilled prophecies in the Hebrew Bible. 6. 4 different righteous servants to come. Prophet like Moses, Elijah, that's in Malachi 3. Prophet like Moses is in the Torah. Moshiach, it's in Isaiah. And then you have the man actually described in Isaiah 53. And he's only got one description, and even the sages knew. This is why they said Moshiach was the righteous servant of Isaiah 53. Because they had to have a description. They knew that. Well, it's been lost. And Jews for Judaism, Tobias Singer apparently hadn't ever thought about the day of the Lord and the fact that he's going to need a prophet like Moses. He's going to need a representation to deliver 2 covenants. I mean, how did you get the first covenant? Wasn't that God with Moses? It's Israel. Yeah, well, it's a Gentile. God comes from Adam, and other Jewish people, none are with him. Well, he's coming with his representation, and when he has his reckoning and dismissal of all the shepherds, all the rabbis, he appoints Moshiach as the only teacher he recognizes. So they're together, and he's coming with him from Adam. That's me. We're coming from Texas, if you want to know. Houston, Texas. Yeah, can't be Jesus, can't be all the Jewish people gathered as one time as the man Israel. Israel, Jacob, was Jewish. Or was he an Israelite? But they all became Jews anyway. That's a setup. God wrote it into there because he knew what the Gentiles were going to do. And use Leviticus. And have a Jewish man, because they had to rely on the Hebrew Bible, as a human sacrifice. That's why those words, that's why it's written like it is. People might be going, fire or famine. So how are we supposed to know that? Well, you can find it in Ezekiel. That's the key. He went through it, and the definition's there. But he didn't put it into Isaiah 53. You read it just like it is, and you see things like he was wounded for our sins. Our guilt was placed upon him. You read stuff like that, and you start to think, human sacrifice, Except for what? Nobody dies in Isaiah 53. The man's given long life to make the many righteous. With his knowledge, he shall see his children. Which, of course, is not Jesus, too. And yet, the 2 billion Christians are out there still being taught and believing he's the righteous servant Moshiach. And he can't be Moshiach because he doesn't come from the stump of Jesse. He comes from the felled ancestral tree that created the stump of the kings of Judah that were banished from ever ruling over Judah again from Jerusalem. They can say, well, God must have listed the banishment because he came. And he's not coming back. I've covered that. That's easy. Okay. Sometimes he just blanks my mind to irritate me. Yeah, but that's the thing. Nothing really irritates me anymore. I mean, he's done a good job. I'm ready. And yet he's content. Oh, the last 3 weeks have been a misery. I mean, y'all see me on these videos and you go, well, he seems like a pretty good mood. He laughs a lot and everything. Yeah. But before they come on, before the camera, and afterwards, it's a whole nother story. And the nights are just dreadful. Now, I can't tell you all the story. Because of one. Because you go, God wouldn't do that. And God's answer to that is, I'm God. I'll do anything I please. I don't get embarrassed. And as Keith says, I have no dignity or mercy. And he says, well, in the fire of famine, you don't. I try not to think about these things, but he controls my mind. So I don't have anything to do with what I think about. You want to tell the Tovia story? He had me listen to a segment of one of Tovia's singers' radio show, especially early on. I had a lot of respect for him before I read his commentary on 5310, and that fell by the way. But he said that he believed God would have to have total control of Moshiach. I guess to perfect the world and have everybody walk in the Torah. Well, I'm with God, and he does have total control, and we're still not going to, he couldn't get me to perfect the world. It's just not a possibility. His creation is not, that's not how it was created. He don't want a heaven on earth. He doesn't need everybody in the world worshiping him, and he's doing what they're doing. No competition, no pain. He's just throwing out all God's fun stuff to watch. It's like telling me I can't watch a crime drama or a lawyer or a show that's about a trial. I like to watch it. I still love the law. Took that from me, snatched that from me the first week or two. He took everything from me. I'm down to this. All this equipment and the computer, they're his. He bought them with my money. But I don't consider it mine. I guess I'll never have anything again. Because I can't decide I'm going to go get a video camera. I'm going to get a TV backdrop that looks good on YouTube. I'm going to get a new computer. He has to do it all. That would exhibit self-will and self-thought. No, I can't. No, they never understand that. No. Okay, we're getting close, I think. God's purpose that might prosper through his righteous servant of Isaiah 11 and 53, Moshiach, is the purpose of Elijah in Malachi 3. And the rebuilding of his temple, clearing the way. That's Elijah. And who recounsels the sons to the father and the fathers to the sons. God had me type that as family members to family members. Through Judaism, make them righteous. Get everybody observant. That's what Elijah's supposed to do. I thought that was his purpose that might prosper, but God said, no, I got that covered with the righteous servants we need to. But Moshe, no, it's return to his temple. And you find that in the covenant of friendship. He wants to live amongst his people again. He's just been waiting for them to come back. Didn't I mention Pokey? Okay. The day of the Lord started in 1948, and God will say, the land was desolate. And so he didn't really start going and blooming. See, a time is coming, Jeremiah 31 something. For about 10 years. Well, I was born in 1957. 9 years after Israel was born, that's when he came to me. But I had to live a life of sorrows, suffering, grievous injuries, bad events, terrible times sometimes, dysfunctional family. That's part of why I got selected, I believe. Well, so anyway, that's what's taking. Here's God making excuses again for himself. He said, I'm not slow. It's just the way it had to be done. So, but he doesn't talk to me till I'm 50. With me at birth, made sure I had all those accidents, especially, the bad ones, gut shot from 2 feet away. 8 hours from a hospital that could do anything about it and bleeding out. 8 hours. That's 1 day in my life. Jesus suffered 1 day in his life. For how long? 8 hours. And then he released his ghost and died. I guarantee you I didn't want to die. I didn't release my spirit. I didn't even think about God. I was an atheist. Never even entered my mind. Yeah, no deals. I believe in, stop sinning. The word God did not come to mind. Where was I going with all that? Where are we? And God says he will strike the land with utter destruction if Elijah's purpose does not prosper. Okay, y'all listening to Elijah and Moshe, a prophet like Moses, and the man described in Isaiah 53. You going to pay attention, or you want utter destruction to come to Israel? Because I don't have any clue whether he's not going to decide just to leave for now and let the nation, his creation, the nations of the Middle East in all probability, destroy the country of Israel. Now you got 7 million Jewish people, give or take, in Israel. 7 million. What do you think of the destruction is going to do? Is that Iran and nuclear bombs going off at the same time Lebanon shoots off 1,000 rockets? Does Egypt join in? Isn't their leader military? How about Jordan? They wanted to get in on it before. Sure, Israel's got the strongest army in the Middle East. But Is it strong enough to take on 4 of the Middle East armies at the same time? A country the size of Iran? What if everybody in Iran just started running towards Israel? How you going to stop them all? Because they got like billions of people, don't they? Millions upon millions. Go ahead. Keep ignoring me. With all this evidence before you, I'll tell you this. You're never going to find another Gentile who can present this kind of evidence. And you can't even find a rabbi today or in the history of Judaism that has this knowledge. And if that's not good enough for you, utter destruction is what you deserve. What happened to never again, never forget? Why aren't your rabbis looking into this? Is it because God dismissed them? Don't they want to get back in God's good graces? Or where are they? Are the Jewish people, and I know there's plenty, who are viewing these videos, have you asked your rabbi what he's going to do about this? Doesn't he have a responsibility to check out that that the day of the Lord is here? And a man claims to be the righteous servant Moshiach? And they've been dismissed, and you've been dismissed, Rabbi. Well, it's apparent. It's in the Bible. He quotes it. He backs everything he says up with Scripture. Everything. I tell you about a fire refinement. I tell you where to find it in another book. Ezekiel. And it's also in, the fire refinement is also in Jonah and Job. But it's not near as good as Ezekiel. It is a story that keeps repeating. God knows his people, and in the writings of Isaiah, after the description of his righteous servant, God says, this is Isaiah 56, verse 10 through 12. I love this one. The watchmen are blind. They perceive nothing. This is God speaking in the book of Isaiah. He said, Isaiah, write this down. They perceive nothing. They are all dumb dogs that cannot bark. They lie sprawling. They love to drowse. Moreover, the dogs are greedy. They never know satiety. Why isn't that the shit? Why didn't you start out with shepherds instead of watchmen? I would have. As for the shepherds, they know not what it is to give heed. That's why they don't go into the scroll of remembrance. They don't. They don't heed and revere the Lord. Oh, they'll tell you that they do. They'll tell you to observe, do everything you're supposed to. Well, I want to add to that. Not only that, when this covenant comes into effect, when this book's published, you're sin free too. But guess what, rabbis? Still not going into the scroll of remembrance. Still won't see the special Jewish heaven God has created for those that are in the scroll. The only way any rabbi on the face of the earth is going to get into the scroll is to, one, go to your followers and you tell them all the things you got wrong. In particular, Jews for Judaism told you this thing, or you tell them it's not Israel, it's a Gentile. The backup is in this book. Teach this book. And the only way God's wrath is going to hit the Christians with any effect, you got to raise me up. You can't drowse. You can't be lazy. You can't just sit back and put your head in the sand and say, it couldn't be a Gentile or well, this is covered in verse 4. All the reasons: shunned, despised, held to no account, smitten, afflicted, and plagued. That's what they consider me. And that's what I get. I mean, that's the only thing my comments are critical and ugly and name-calling. One man said, this man is a rapist. Now, what kind of comment is that on a video? I know. I said, let's kick him off. Block him. The guy said, no. He didn't say it like that. Oh, yeah, I didn't finish it, did he? Moreover, the dogs are greedy. They never know safety. As for the shepherds, they know